Our next guest is Milo. He was recently named district champion of the oral recitation for the University Scholastic League. He is here today to perform his winning entry.
Casey at the Bat, written in 1888 by Ernest Lawrence Thayer. The outlook wasn't brilliant for the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one inning more to play. And when Cooney died at first and Burrows did the same, a pall-like silence fell upon the patrons of the game. A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to that hope which springs eternal in the human breast. They thought if only Casey but could get a whack at that, we'd even put up money now with Casey at the bat. But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. The former was a hoodoo, while the latter was a cake. So upon the stricken multitude grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey getting to the bat. But Flynn let drive a single, to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball. And when the dust had lifted, the men saw what had occurred. There was Jimmy, safe at second, and Flynn a huggin' third. And from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley and it rattled in the dell. It pounded on the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey, was advancing to the bat. There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile lit Casey's face. And when, responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat, no stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat. 10,000 eyes were on him as he rubbed his hands with dirt. 5,000 tongues applauded as he wiped them on his shirt. And while the writhing pitcher ground the ball into his hip, defiance flashed in Casey's eyes, a sneer curled Casey's lip. And when the leather-covered sphere came hurtling through the air, and Casey stood a-watching it in that haughty grandeur there, close by the sturdy batsman, the ball unheeded sped. "That ain't my style," said Casey. "Strike one," the umpire said. From the benches, black with people, there went up a muffled roar like the beating of a storm waves on a stern and distant shore. "Kill him! Kill the umpire!" shouted someone on the stand. And it's likely they had killed him had not Casey raised his hand. With a smile of Christian charity, great Casey's visage shone. He stilled the rising tumult, and he bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the dull sphere flew, but Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Strike two." "Fraud!" cried the maddened thousand, and the echo answered, "Fraud!" But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed. They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. They knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again. The sneer had fled from Casey's lip. His teeth were clenched with hate. He pounds with cruel violence his bat upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go, and now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. Oh, somewhere in this favored land the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light. Somewhere men are laughing and little children shout. But there was no joy in Mudville, for mighty Casey has struck out.
Nice job! Wow,
Thank you.
Milo. How did you learn to memorize like this?
Well, after a lot of practicing and reading over paragraph by paragraph, memorizing sentence by sentence, I eventually got it.
Well, you got it. All right, Dad Simon, you are here with 10-year-old Milo. Are you amazed that this kid can remember like that and perform it?
It was really great because he picked the poem, and it's a pretty long one, right? But he got down the motions and the words, but he was still reading it. So his mom said, Milo, go memorize it instead, because that'll really send it over the top. So he disappeared for about 20 minutes, came back, and he's like, got it. Okay, and we're like, no way, no way. And he just did it off the top. He said, you know, I can feel like I can memorize almost any script.
Wow. So what do you want to do someday with this memorization skill and your love for acting?
Well, I've always wanted to do what you do, Miranda.
So you want my job?
Not sure.
All right, let's do this. We'll co-host together, and then I'll slowly fade away, and you'll move to the forefront, and it will be Milo, Where You Live.
Oh, sure.
Do you like it?
Sounds good.
Okay, I think it's a great idea. So you want to act someday, or you want to be on TV and
definitely.
perform?
I've always wanted to be on the movie series Star Wars.
Okay, so what character would you play?
I wouldn't really care as long as I was on it and I could like interact with the character Chewbacca.
That is so cool. You know, we've got some photos of you and you're acting and you're with your siblings. Tell me a little bit about the family, Simon.
Yeah, we try to keep the art of presentation active. I mean, it's so easy for kids to be entertained these days on screens and movies, but we want them to be able to create entertainment, want to be able to express their feelings and their emotions. And so we do try to work in as much as we can into our family, sort of a theatrical presence. I mean, neither one of my wife and I come from a strong theater background, a little bit of, television background, but the point is to get them to be able to communicate their thoughts and feelings outwardly, rather than just always feel like entertainment is something to consume.
Right, that's a great thing to do. What advice would you give to other 10-year-olds who are watching you and saying, man, I would love to do something like Milo's done?
Well, don't think about what you can't do, but I would think about how you're doing and try to improve off that. Like, you don't always want to be defensive, like, oh, I'm doing this so wrong, I need to work on better on that and that. Well, is try to actually get the poem memorized, and then you can work on it.
All right, so here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to look at the camera, and I'd like you to say, we'll be right back with more fun.
All right.
But with passion and excitement. Do
Okay. We'll be right back with more fun.
Brilliant.
Fifth Third Bank is proud